A little over a year ago, I bought the M2 MacBook Air and have been using it ever since. This year was truly something, not gonna lie. This Mac has been with me through everything and may just be my favorite laptop, but not for the reasons you think, so let's talk about it. When this MacBook got released, I was pretty familiar with Apple's Silicon and new design strategy. I've used the M1 Air and a number of Apple Silicon MacBook Pros at that time, so I wasn't expecting much from this Mac, yet what I got blew me away. But I don't want to turn this video into glorifying this MacBook. I will try to keep things on point. This Mac is not perfect, but it is close, dangerously close. In a year of using it, I noticed so many things that could have been perfect, like the keyboard and body, flat sides and rounded edges. In 2023, that's no revelation. And this design has proven to be very successful. Thanks to the unified thickness, or should I say thinness, the laptop feels more like an instrument rather than a jewel. It feels ready for work and encourages to do something. On a more practical side of things, dimensions and weight are just right. It feels right, looks right, and it's always a pleasure to touch. What's not a huge pleasure to touch is the keyboard. I'm not gonna beat around the bush all day and we'll just say that this keyboard has a huge flaw. Not the key size, not the key travel, and not even the layout or Touch ID. All these things are superb here. The worst part about this keyboard is the awful materials used. This plastic is just awful. It is super susceptible to wear and tear. Look at this. I may not type on this Mac that often now, but here you see an equivalent of roughly 8 to 9 months of everyday typing. Just so look, here is the MacBook Pro from 2013, and in over 6 years of everyday use, its keyboard still looks great. This keyboard problem is not exclusive to the M2 MacBook Air. It's present in all modern MacBooks. I just want you to know about it and be ready. And don't you dare use all those silicone keyboard covers. They're just gonna scratch the screen and that's it. And trust me, the screen is definitely something you may want to protect in this Mac. It's a 13.6-inch liquid retina panel with P3 color and true tone. It goes up to 500 nits of peak brightness and has a fixed refresh rate of 60 Hz. Technically, this display isn't amazing. It's pretty much industry standard. The bezels are thicker than I would have liked and the refresh rate is lower than I'm used to. But somehow I almost never notice that when I'm using this MacBook. It's a strange phenomenon of Apple magic. You use a device and get so consumed with the process that you ignore all the small issues. Do you also have that? Leave a comment. So, this screen, I'd say that I can rate it at 7 out of 10. It's really good to watch movies on at all times except the evening or dark rooms. In those rare cases, you really see the backlit of the display, which turns blacks into grays. It is noticeable to me, but to you it may not be a problem, so don't take this critique too hard. If you want to do some color grading, you're not gonna have any issues with that. I sure didn't. The display is really good, perfectly calibrated, and doesn't let down. Yet, I still think that given it a higher brightness or at least adaptive refresh rate, would have been nice. But maybe Liquid Retina doesn't allow that. Who knows? I'm not a display technology expert, and I'm also not an audiophile. But this fact won't stop me from rating the speaker setup, and my assessment is good. The 13-inch MacBook Air has only 4 speakers situated under the keyboard with no visible holes for the sound to pass through. I see why Apple did that, but speaker grills would have made the sound much better because to my ear, it lacks detail and boominess. It sometimes feels flat or lacks highs and lows, but that doesn't mean you can't use these speakers. Despite its size, the sound that this small laptop makes can fill the small room and act as a boombox if you're into that. But I mostly use AirPods, so to me the quality of the speakers was kind of irrelevant. Do you think you will use it without headphones that often? Think twice. I doubt that anyone who lives not alone would use a laptop without headphones, but maybe it's just me. I don't want to assume anything, I just want to make a point, you know? I just want to highlight some highs and lows of my experience with this Mac, because there was a lot of good stuff and a lot of bad stuff. Unfortunately for me, the majority of bad stuff is a result of the configuration of my MacBook. I've got this basic MacBook Air that has 256 gigs of storage, an M2 chip, 8 GPU cores, and 8 gigabytes of memory, and I don't even know where to start. Everything about the performance is so juicy. Okay, storage it is. Imagine trying to fit a mountain into a backpack. That's the storage. 256 gigabytes is a laughably small amount that will be enough only to someone who uses the Mac for watching movies and typing documents, install a few apps, and boom, you're playing Tetris with your files. Don't even think of editing videos comfortably. Any big project will fill up the memory in an instant. But Arthur, why don't you use external drives? They're like snails when you need cheetah speed. And the reason for external drives feeling slow is the slowness of the SSD itself. It's just one memory chip, which means the SSD always works in a single channel, which equals slow read and write speeds. Yes, you can pay $200 extra for additional 256 gigs, but that would be a dumb idea because believe me, this Mac has a few more pressing issues that make small and slow storage look like a minor inconvenience. Of course, I'm talking about the 8 GB of unified memory. Remember when I called 256 gig storage laughably small? Well, scrap that because the 8 gigs of memory is the entire circus. 8 GB is enough only for simple stuff. Emails, watching movies, typing documents, and that's it. Even if you open more than 15 tabs in Safari, you will start seeing stutters in animation, reloads, and so on. This memory issue is objectively the worst part about this Mac. It's just not enough. As soon as you start doing complex stuff like exporting multiple edited photos, editing a simple video, or just opening 25 tabs, it just falls apart. And I'm not saying that it can do complex stuff. The M2 chip itself is pretty powerful to do even 4K video editing or working with 3D. It's the memory size limit that makes the experience of doing those complex things almost unbearably slow. I said it many times before, and I will repeat it once again, 16 GB is the way to go if you want to do something more intensive than typing documents and watching videos. I am sure that with 16 gigs of unified memory, the M2 MacBook Air will be exactly what Apple advertises it, a small and light yet powerful computer for everyday needs. But you will have to spend an extra $200 for that. And I don't want to turn this video into a 5-minute monologue about how terrible the performance is. Those buying this Mac are mostly prepared for it and fine with that because no one who needs power will buy the MacBook Air. So I suggest stop hating and start praising. Because there are some genuinely great things about this Mac, like the battery life, for example. Because there wasn't a single instance when it fell short of remarkable. No matter what I was doing on it, whether it's photo editing, video editing, working with documents, sending emails, etc., I always knew that if I take this Mac with at least 70% charge, it will last me through the day and then some more. It just lives forever, and the included charging brick is awesome. It charges slowly, but that helps preserve the battery health, and check out a full video about battery health we made earlier. Thanks to those tips and slow charging, after a year, my MacBook Air has 98 charging cycles and 95% battery health. That word pretty much sums up all the good things about this Mac. Everything it does well becomes remarkable, but everything it does badly multiplies into obscurity. So please, think twice before buying a stock version. Take some time to think things through, figure out your needs and wants so you don't end up with a laptop that limits your potential. And as always, thank you for watching, guys, and see you in the next one.